Hello everybody, and of course also a very warm welcome from my side. Well, obviously I'm not Bernd Lohmüller, but he is unfortunately not available today, and I have the clear order to give my very best to represent him in a worthy way. So my name is Florian Faul, and as a sales manager at NIEHOFF Company, it is my pleasure to present and to discuss with you some of the most important and very interesting megatrends we can clearly see in the wire and cable market. In the next few minutes, I would like to discuss with you a brief overlook of what kind of trends we can see and how these trends are influencing the wire and cable business in the near future. The megatrends we define, the big four or five big megatrends is, of course, mobility, urbanization, power generation, and energy distribution. This goes a little bit hand by hand. And of course, digitalization. Let's have a closer look into the mobility. Mobility can mean a lot, but here we focus on these electric cars, electrical vehicles, battery-driven cars, or plug-in hybrids. Well, as a summary, we can say that the total amount of battery-driven vehicles has raised dramatically in the last year already. Yeah, and Volkswagen has announced that from the year 2030 onwards, they committed themselves not to build any combustion engines anymore. So this is a clear trend, even if the sales figures are not so dramatic high at the moment, but compared to the previous year, it was a raise of 137% in Europe, and this is a quite high growth rate. As I said, a driver to build more electric-driven vehicles, battery cars, and so on, is definitely producing batteries. This is the basic for that development. And in the year 2020, and this is very interesting, there was the capacity of making and producing batteries in Europe about 30 gigawatt hours per year. Only 5 years later, so in 2025, there is the forecast that the capacity will be increased up to 400 gigawatt hours per year. This is more than 13 times as much as nowadays, and this only within 5 years. So this is a very clear trend. And where is here the positive gain for our industry? Well, all these batteries must be charged sooner or later, at home or in a new completely installed network where you can plug in and recharge your cars. So there must be the invest for a complete new grid or charging stations and so on to fill up the cars. And also if we look inside the cars, the wire harness development is a very impressive development in the last decades and also in the next few years. Very interesting on this slide, you can see that the first Volkswagen Beetle, for example, had altogether just 45 meters of cable. And now the Golf 8, Volkswagen Golf 8, has 1.3 kilometers of cable. And from the previous generation, the Golf 7 to Golf 8, it's just 100 meters more inside, but these 100 meters are mainly data cables and communication cables, special shielded cables. And this is a very, very nice opportunity for our industry to develop these high-frequency data cables. On slide number 8, we can have a detailed look inside the wire harness. And this slide is already from 2011, but still very valid and very actual diagram, you can see here that the number of cables used in a car is separated in small cross sections, medium cross sections, and big cross section cables. Well, due to weight reduction, there is definitely the trend to substitute these big cross sections with aluminum wire to make it light. And in the very, very small cross sections, these 0.35 or 0.50 is nowadays replaced by the 0.13 square millimeter, which is a typical signal cable in automotive, mainly substituted by copper alloy, here copper tin. Well, still there is remained a huge portion, a huge part of cables which are still made out of copper, so they will not be replaced. Let's talk a little bit about a huge field of megatrend, the megatrend of power generation and energy distribution. Within the next 30 years, so the forecast, on this planet, we need to double the energy production to satisfy all our needs. What does it mean? Coal and the traditional energy sources are limited, so we need to look into what the renewable energies like wind and solar energy. And for example, here, if we imagine and follow the trend on the next slide into these renewable energies, wind and photovoltaic, a logical consequence from the slide before is a big opportunity for our industry. For example, a wind power station, which is generating 5 megawatts, requires about 6.5 tons of animal wire, plus another 1.5 tons of other cables. So this is a big and bright future for those who manufacture these kind of cables. And of course, all this energy which is generated needs to be transported. We need to make our educators about the transmission. The European Union has several targets. For example, 15% of additional transmission capability for each individual national power grid by the year 2030. So that means we need to upgrade the existing grids. These are massive projects. New investments are being planned at the moment, and in order to expand those grids or even to build new ones, as we discussed before, if you want to charge your electric vehicle, not at a gas station, but you need then a station which has power supply for your batteries. Let me take out one example of the transmission of power from one place to the other. A very ambitious project is about to be realized. It's the X-Links project, which transfers solar energy from the Sahara to the UK. This is a huge distance. One-way cable is 3,500 kilometers. But this project will be realized. Why? Because the United Kingdom needs stable energy in wintertime, in summertime, when the sun is shining or not shining, or if the wind is blowing or not. So here a big and safe energy producer is the Sahara, the region of the Sahara, and if we are able to transfer that energy to the UK or to Europe, to other countries, that would be a nice solution to cover these energy needs within the next 30 years. By the way, this project will, when it is finished, cover 7.5% of the energy needed in the UK. Urbanization is also still a very important topic. Yeah, we have so many people living in the big cities worldwide, and going hand by hand to even save more energy, to improve the situation in the cities here, is the development or the further development of smart buildings. This nice picture shows our plant in Schwabach. Here we also have a kind of a smart building, a building which is using energy when it is needed for heating, for light, and of course you need completely different cabling in inside such houses, and this is a big chance for our industry. And for the example, in the US, they have on plan to invest between 2020 and 2026. The investment into smart buildings will raise from $83 billion up to $230 billion dollars. This is a compound annual growth rate of 18.5% in this industry only. Necessary it is definitely because all these buildings, commercial and residential buildings, use 40%, so almost half of the generated power in the US is used by buildings, not by cars or others. And if you look a step further in those countries now, US, also in Europe, a big driver for the next development is definitely not driver, but let's say speeding up, is the COVID-19 pandemic. All of you, we can feel it every day. More home office days. Working from at home is very popular and necessary. So there is a thinking going on, and of course you can see it in figures on this slide. The people prefer to live on the countryside, but they need to be connected. So we need the smart buildings outside the big cities as well. We need cables, grids for information technology. And here we see a huge market as well. And the forecast figures, please have a detailed look on that slide. From 2021 onwards, 2022 up to 2023, there is the forecast that there will be a bigger invest in the next years. Well, and here we are almost on the last point of the megatrends. Last point, of course, is digitalization. Digitalization, not a second smartphone or so, or a third one, we already have it, but it's digitalization in the back office. If you imagine how big, how huge the servers, the cloud service providers must be, this is incredible. And if you look on the investments, in February 2019, Google announced the planned investments of $13 billion in 4 new data centers. So this is not only Google who is investing, it's just an example. So digitalization is definitely one megatrend, one driver for our industry. Let me just finish with another example. Automation, of course, is clear in our machines as well. Industry 4.0, just to give you some keywords. But also with the smartphones, from 4G to 5G, where is the gain for our industry? Because it's a mobile phone, there is no cable connection, not between the phones. But the transmission masts, if we change from 4G to 5G, we need approximately 5 times the amount of transmission masts. And all these transmission masts must be cabled, must have a power supply, and this is a fantastic news for our industry. Well, 10 minutes almost over, I think. So I need to come to the end with some conclusions. The discussed mega trends definitely provide a positive outlook for the wire and cable industry. In particular, the charging infrastructure for e-mobility will increase the demand of wire and cable. China, this huge market will be the largest market for e-mobility and infrastructure in future. In the next 5 years, we can definitely see it. The globally growing demand for electricity and the transition to renewables will have a positive impact on the demand for power cable. And last but not least, the digitalization, cloud computing, remote services, home offices, and so on and so on, just yet started. Well, wire and cable industry offers a promising future. Thank you very much for your kind attention, and in case of open questions, please feel free to contact us. Thank you very much.